The subject of today's video is winter and your diesel truck and things to have on your mind in the wintertime. Winter is a special time for, the life of a diesel truck. Lots of things occur that don't happen at other times of the year. So I wanted to go over a few things that come to my mind when I'm thinking about wintertime. Now, I wish I was up north to do this video. Instead, I'm down here where it's 60 degrees in the middle of December. But still, nights have gotten pretty cold, and tonight it's even going to get in the 30s. So when I get up tomorrow morning and I go out to fire up the truck, the grid heater is going to cycle. You got to give it time to cycle and wait for that light to go out. Then you fire up the truck. The next thing you want to keep in mind is the engine is very cold, a lot colder than it would really like to be. And you're going to want to let it run for several minutes, depending on how cold it is. If it's 30 degrees, 2-3 minutes. If it's 10 degrees, maybe more like 10 minutes. Your truck might high idle by itself. That's fine, that's a good thing. But the reason for it, that you want to let it idle for a little bit, is you want to warm up that engine as gracefully as possible. Certain parts of the engine that are closest to the combustion are going to warm up the fastest. You don't want them to warm up so fast that the metal expands rapidly compared to other areas of the engine. That can cause, little cracks in the metal, and that can lead to, premature failure of engine components, which is nothing you want to have to experience. So that's why you let them run for a little bit. Besides the whole, in the summertime you would let them run just to get oil circulated, but only for about a minute. So that's the difference between summer and winter. Other things, like fuel additives. Fuel getting gelled, basically turn it into a solid. Some fuel additives like this one have some anti-gel in it. This has anti-gel and will keep your fuel in a liquid form down to, I think this one's like -20, but you got some that are -40. And some of your stations, if you live up north or in a very cold area that's used to getting cold, you'll have some treatment in your fuel already, but sometimes that treatment's not enough. Standard summer blend diesel fuel will start to turn into a solid at around 30 degrees. And so lightly treated diesel could still freeze if temperatures drop into the teens or below 10. If it's not treated well enough, it could freeze. Now, you don't want that to happen. Your fuel filter is the first thing that's going to freeze. Especially if the truck hasn't been running a few days. That's going to definitely freeze up the first, because the tank's going to have 35 gallons in it. It's going to take a lot longer for that to gel up. But the fuel lines could also gel up. So it may not be even the fuel filter. So it's better to do preventative, fuel additive for anti-gel than it is to have to use that 911 stuff that's really bad for your injectors. But if you're in an emergency, you could do that. Another thing that's a good idea is to plug the truck in. On the front, most trucks will have a block heater plug. Here it is. This plugs into a standard, wall outlet. What is this? And goes into an extension cord. That's what I would do. Put it into an extension cord. And this will actually keep the block at about 80 to 100 degrees. It'll almost be like it's a summer day for your coolant temp and for the engine itself. Can help reduce idle time, save fuel, and reduce wear and tear on the engine as well. It's a nice thing to do in the winter. Even if your truck doesn't have that cord, you can usually buy the cord, because the engine's still going to have the coil on it. It should have that coil on it where that cord would plug in. So you could add a intake, or not intake heater, block heater. What else? Out working on your truck in the winter and it's cold out. A couple of these hand warmers in your pocket would be very nice. Helps with your dexterity so you can work with your hands. You know, also helps raise your spirits if you're out there in the real cold weather. You know, I've been out in not minus, 10 degrees, single-digit degree temps, and doing an oil change. I think it was 8 degrees. That was the worst oil change I ever did. Much worse than doing it in 95 degrees and 95% humidity like we have down here in the summertime. It's also a good idea in the wintertime if you're in a snowy area or you know there's a snowstorm coming. If you're driving cross country, you're on a road trip, you're far from home, you may want to have some food and water and things with you because some of these winter storms can turn interstate highways into a parking lot. That's happened even in the northern areas. I've heard just in November there was a snowstorm in the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area turned the highway into a parking lot. And that's, you know, an area that experiences snow quite a bit. Even worse was a few years ago in like Birmingham, Alabama. It was just a couple inches of snow, but it led to gridlock on that highway. And keeping the tank filled up is nice because a truck like this can high idle to keep warm, and you'll only burn about an hour to a gallon, or gallon to an hour. So you can keep this truck running for over 24 hours if you got a full tank, and you'll be able to stay warm inside. Another tip is to possibly invest in a jump box. You never know how your batteries are going to fare in the winter, and having a jump box like this could start your truck possibly multiple times. Here is a winter front that you would put on the front of your truck in extreme cold conditions. It's looks like it's made of some sort of leather material, and it's got Velcro here that you can open up these different panels, and this one actually rolls up like this, so you can customize how much airflow you have coming through. And that'll be it for me. If y'all have any winter time tips for your diesel trucks, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. Could be a good idea. All right, thanks. Have a good day.